I wanted to make a video for anyone that wanted to know most of the terminology with some tips for Deadlock, but mainly for any MOBA since they all usually play with some of the same rules. I wish I had this video before I started playing this genre 6 months ago. It would have saved me a headache and a trip to Reddit. I hope you learned something new, but tell me in the comments if I missed something. I'm still learning the genre and not a vet by any means. For some of these I didn't go into super detail since I figured most of us have played a video game of some sort, and most of these terms are pretty universal. Starting off is the first section of this, which is basics of MOBAs and terminology. At the top of everyone's screens, you will see ally and enemy health bars. That electric symbol is everyone's ultimate, and if the picture is grayed out, then that hero's ultimate is unavailable. If you look on the enemy side, if you can see their health bar, then that means someone, or the minion, or even a tower has visuals on them. If you don't see it, then that means they can be anywhere on the map waiting to ambush you, or back at their base. Next to your health bar are your shields, with orange representing your gun shields and purple being your ability shields, or mythic, whatever you usually call it. I just call it magic. If you pay attention to an enemy's health bar, you'll notice that if you start to see a circle beside it, that means you're too far away to deal maximum damage. A yellow circle means that you're at medium range, while a red circle means that you will deal the least amount of damage. A kit is a character's abilities, so if someone says drop kit, they mean use every single ability you have at your disposal for the maximum damage. The jungle is the space between all the lanes. There are monster camps that are worth more hiding in it. Players will usually go and eliminate these camps for extra resources if they are behind. Lanes are the main zones on the game map. They're the long turret, tower, objective filled alleys in the direct line out from your base to the enemy's base. The lane will always have a railway above you. Solo lane is usually taken up by characters that have a good 1v1 kit. Fights are usually drawn out until one player either makes a mistake or someone's teammate comes out to help. As of now, in Deadlock, the most outer lanes are the solo lanes, and one player will usually typically defend this lane. Mid lane are the middle lanes of the map. You will be with a teammate, but the goal is always the same. Being in the middle means the most traffic, so everyone will usually come to these lanes at one point or another, especially because of the mid boss being right there. With that being the Visk, there are usually buffs outside the lanes that players in mid are meant to fight over since they are tasked with defending the busiest lanes. Dual lane is usually filled with the tank and the damage combo, or sometimes you can throw in a healer too. Mid boss is a high risk, high reward monster that usually exists in the middle of the map. Team effort is usually required to take it down since it has so much health. The soul urn is a capture the flag objective that if completed, the team that delivered the urn will receive a huge currency lead. The urn is taken from one side of the map to the other. Towers and objectives are the big defenders in the lanes. Your towers defend the main objective in your base and vice versa. Don't push a tower if friendly minions aren't in its attack zone taking the damage for you. You will die very quickly if you go in unprotected. The endless little AI units that you always see running around are creeps, or they're sometimes called minions depending on what game you came from. Ally units take the towers and objectives, and the enemy units are important to clear for experience gains. From old games, minions are usually referred to as creeps. So when being referred to, some people will usually say CS with the S meaning score. Farming is just killing minion waves in lanes or monster camps in jungles for experience gains. A clear is just killing enemy minion waves as fast as possible, either for the extra currency or just to push the minions into the tower. Poking is an attack on ability, and it's usually long range, but it forces the enemy to pull back from their lane or play defensively. So just being annoying and giving out damage whenever you have a free shot, basically. Ult is just your ultimate move. It's your longest cooldown. I feel like all of us know what an ult is.
Boring!
A team fight is a big battle with your team against the enemy's team, and it's usually a fight that can kind of determine how the rest of the match is going to go. Ganking is personally my favorite aspect of a MOBA. There is something that I love about pulling up on your boy and jumping a poor soul. In simple terms, it's the act of sneaking or teaming up on an enemy lane in order to get an easy kill for an advantage. See something, say something. Hey, I'm being dead serious. If you notice your lane opponent isn't there, it's best to say something since that means they could be on their way to gank your teammate. I found it a lot easier, if anything, to just follow them and harass them while pinging that player. So basically become a Karen at all costs till they decide to go back or end up dying. These games aren't a Call of Duty or Overwatch, even though it probably feels really fun to just go out and fight, which is fair, but every time you die, that's time that you can't farm and lose out on minions that should be yours, so you're going to be weaker than everyone else in the match, so you're gonna have to play catch up. Now I pray I really don't have to explain this, but honestly juking is just making someone miss with basic movement or jumping or just any way to make somebody look bad. Snowballing means exactly how you would imagine it. It just means you're slowly becoming bigger and bigger until you become a monster of a problem. CC means crowd control. So for simple reasons, it's any tank or player that can kind of have an ability that can either slow, stun, root, or knock an opponent up. Basically any move that a character can do that can make it so someone has to stand still and basically can't play for a small moment of time. Peel is the use of CC to force an enemy off a retreating ally. It's basically crowd control but more stern and direct. Lifesteal is gaining health back from damage dealt. Basically you're a vampire. AoE is area of effect. Abilities that affect a large area, pretty much like a rocket launcher or any grenade explosive you're used to. A squishy or a glass cannon is someone that's easy to kill. It's the exact opposite of a tank, but usually can deal high damage in a given situation. Burst is using your kit to deal high damage in a small window. Sustain is the ability to survive longer and keep fighting without really a need to disengage since you're taking so little damage compared to everybody else. Last but not least is the roles for these kind of games. My favorite role is the carry. The carry builds mostly full damage and is in charge of dealing the most damage to your enemies. The role usually has a slow start in the beginning but becomes a challenge in the end game, which means they will need to be carried in the beginning but end up compensating by carrying the team towards the end. They are your glass cannons who have a long range attacks but can be taken out easily. They pair well with tanks or healers in the dual lane. A tank usually has great sustain, CC, and usually high health. Often one of the characters in the front line. They usually have low mobility but can take lots of hits. Commonly found in dual lanes. A pusher is great at clearing lanes and pushing objectives. Commonly found in mid lane. Kit is usually less 1v1 oriented and designed for bigger engagements. The support usually has heals, CCs, and buffs to aid your team. Terrible alone but great with teammates nearby. They are commonly found in the dual lane with a carry or a tank. And one of the most challenging ones, if you can't pull it off right, is a jungler or ganking. The role or the action is usually pulled off by characters that have high burst damage to kill enemies swiftly. Focuses on ambushing, locking down, and teaming up on enemies. They are usually opportunistic killers and assassins. Gains experience by killing enemies who are either not paying attention and too pushed up in lane, or in jungle clearing monster camps. Now if you made it this far, you probably heard my speech impediment whooping my ass, and to that, I just want to say thank you. A like is always appreciated and helps a ton, and subscribe if you want more tips and tricks. I stream every weekend on Twitch. Thanks for watching.